To PPF or not to PPF? That is the question. As a general rule in my life, when it comes to physical possessions, I strive to take care of things so that they last as long as possible, but I also don't want to obsess over keeping them in perfect condition. For example, I am proactive on oil changes in a vehicle's engine. I check the fluid levels and I lubricate things that need it and keep things as clean as is reasonable depending on the circumstances. But I am going to take that car on a road trip despite the inevitable minor or major accidental damage that may occur, plus the completely expected wear and tear and degradation of value due to, at the very least, miles on the odometer. Or, as a non-vehicular example, I have never put a screen protector on a cell phone and I'm just careful with it. For many years I didn't have a case on my phone either, but I decided to start using one with having young kids around because they would grab and throw it or drop it. My first ever car I ever bought was a Plymouth Reliant that I got super cheap from my grandma. I wish I had pictures of the interior because she had super plush white wool seat covers in the front and beach towels across the back seats, plus a cover on the steering wheel and the seat belt. I took all of that out immediately and the upholstery was in perfect condition, yes, but what's the point in taking a vehicle to the dump at the end of its useful life with perfect upholstery? Unless you prefer the seat cover over the upholstery from the manufacturer, I say just use the device for its intended purpose and take care of your things. As another example, years ago I had a handspring visor PDA, or personal digital assistant, and someone gave me a matte screen protector for it. I put it on to try it out and then continued using it for the next 7 years in college and eventually replaced its functionality in my life with a smartphone. The area on the screen where I wrote with the stylus was worn down and I was curious what the real screen looked like underneath, so I peeled off the screen protector and found a flawless, beautiful screen that had a much clearer appearance than the screen protector. I realized I had been looking through a much less quality screen all of these years, and now that I was done using this device, it still looked perfect underneath. But to what end? It's now technologically outdated. As with anything in life, balance is a constant conflict of differing priorities, limited by time and money. I strive to balance prolonging the life of technology in my life, but not spending excessive additional money on that protection, especially where the protection is just aesthetics and not functionality. You might be wondering where I'm going with this, since you already saw that this video is about installing PPF on my Tesla Model Y, which somewhat goes against everything I just said. Well, I'll now explain why I departed from my norm and installed PPF on it. I struggled with this decision for a while, and after thinking about it for a while, I decided it comes down to control, meaning a small electronic device I keep in my pocket or perhaps the upholstery inside my vehicle can somewhat easily be protected by my actions. But the outside of a vehicle that I intend to keep for many years cannot be protected from crazy unfortunate happenstance outside of my control while it's hurtling down the road at high speeds for many hundreds of thousands of miles, or even damage while parked in varied locations. As much as I tried to keep our kids from scratching our Model S while in our garage, mostly from riding their bikes, it inevitably happened, and some scratches are potentially from neighborhood kids or family playing at our house, all of which happens outside of my control while I'm at work, and frankly, even if I was there, I don't want to have to stand there watching my kids constantly around my vehicles. If I had a larger garage and could park the cars away from the bikes, that would be great, but that only mitigates danger from that one source. This Model Y is the first brand new vehicle I've ever purchased, and all prior vehicles already had some degree of damage that lessened my concern for its appearance. That also applies to our Model S, but now after 5 years of owning our Model S, there are a lot of dings and scratches that PPF would have protected it from, and now I have this brand new Model Y that looks great, and I want to preserve that great appearance as long as possible. Plus, it would be great peace of mind knowing the body is protected from many of the future events out of my control that would nick or scratch the paint. Only now do I have this opportunity to preserve this new look, but if I don't action on it soon, then the imperfections will begin to occur, so it's a situation of diminishing returns. Another advantage I liked is the quality of life improvement owning this car for many years to come. For instance, PPF has self-healing properties where micro scratches or swirl marks just disappear from the heat, such as from the sun. Which means for years to come, as I wash the car, I don't have to be as concerned about swirl marks, and I can just wash the car more quickly. Plus, it has hydrophobic properties and contaminants don't stick to it as easily. As I researched PPF, I looked for what the general price point was and how much it would cost for just the material, as well as how much to pay someone to install it. I found that most PPF manufacturers required their film to be installed by a certified installer, so I couldn't get the price of just the film alone, and when I asked a couple of installers what their pricing was, it was way too cost prohibitive for me to justify it, even with the benefits I just mentioned. As a point of pricing reference, I checked with a local installer who uses STEC Dyno Shield 10-year warranty and 8 mil thick, and for just the front end, using the pre-cut templates that they charge, $1,550. Or to remove the emblems and garnishes and wrap all of the edges, they charge $1,850. A whole vehicle PPF wrap is $5,500 for installing pre-cut templates. Or for $6,500, they will install the same pre-cut template but with the emblems, mirrors, and window trim and fenders removed, and PPF wrapped around the edges. At those prices, I'm out. I'll just have to keep doing what I've been doing, trying to protect where I can, and ultimately have a less ideal looking vehicle sooner than later. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure most installers would do a better job than I could do myself, since I have no experience and they spend hours installing it, so it's going to cost more than just the materials. But the benefit to me is not worth those prices, so I kept searching for where I could purchase the film and install it myself. And I also watched YouTube videos of others installing PPF to get an idea of how hard it is to do and whether I felt like I could do it. Today's video is sponsored by Drive Protected, who is ultimately who I found that was the perfect solution for me, and they asked me to share my experience in this video. I've already made 2 videos installing their PPF on my Tesla Model Y, and I will include a card above to the playlist to those videos. They didn't dictate anything that I should say in this video, so all of this is entirely my own experience and opinions. All they did is ask me to answer these 3 questions. 1. What made you decide to get PPF and why to DIY it? Second, your entire experience with accessing the appropriate resources to help you with your installation. And 3, the installation process, what you enjoyed and what you did not enjoy. Well, the first question I just answered. In short, I wanted to preserve the great looking appearance of my new vehicle, but I wanted to do it myself because I was unwilling to pay the price required to have someone else do it for me. Now for the second question of my entire experience with accessing the appropriate resources to help me with the install. Right away, when the order was created, I received an email with the shipping information that the box of materials were on their way. I also got an email from an individual at Drive Protected letting me know that he had just given me access to their training academy, which is a website behind a login that has a series of training videos listed. They're grouped by the model of vehicle, and the videos start out with a general introduction, then go through all of the various PPF sections of the unique approaches and methods to installing each piece of PPF on the car. Over the next few days, I watched all of the videos while I waited for the package to arrive. Then, when it arrived, I already knew what everything in the box was for while I unpacked all of the parts, which were all protected in bubble wrap. All of the parts were included to install the PPF except for the baby shampoo for the slip solution, which I got in the travel section of my local grocery store, as well as isopropyl alcohol for cleaning the surface of the vehicle prior to the PPF installation. They also include a ceramic coating spray which enhances the hydrophobic properties of the PPF and makes the car really easy to clean because contaminants slide off easily. Before installing the PPF, I spent a good amount of time going around the vehicle looking closely and buffing out any minor imperfections I could find. This was my one chance to make sure that the paint looked as good as I could get it before essentially locking in that appearance under the PPF. I didn't need to do a whole lot because it already looked great, but I went around it carefully looking for any imperfections to buff out. During the PPF installation, I kept my laptop in the garage with me, and I pulled up each video for the next section I was going to tackle and watched it right before doing that section. Watching someone else do it with verbal guidance was very helpful right before doing it, especially with the first few panels. I highly recommend doing it in a garage where you have control over the elements to keep everything clean. I also recommend as much bright lighting as you can get. Also, for some parts of the install, such as the bumpers, I recommend having a helper present because those are the hardest parts. The door panels are relatively easy to do, as well as the front hood. The side mirrors are a little tricky, but just follow the instructions in the video and you'll likely be fine. Drive Protected included 2 of each of the side mirror pieces in case you mess up the first time. The slip and tack solutions are your friend to place the PPF where you want it with the tack solution, and otherwise keep everything else loose with the slip solution until you want it to stay. I initially tried reverse osmosis filtered water, which has a count of near 0 particulates according to my ppm meter, as the tack solution, and it kind of worked, albeit slowly, and I had to squeegee a lot to get the PPF to stop moving. So I highly recommend just getting some distilled water as the instructions state. I enjoyed doing it for the most part, but there were some stressful parts, such as the bumpers, where I was in a hurry to get all of the main important points tacked down before the middle areas started to self-adhere. A couple times I had to pull the PPF away and spray additional slip solution on it, and that's okay. The PPF is surprisingly forgiving due to the slip solution. If it's a little crooked, you can just pull it back and try again, and nothing is damaged. However, the longer it's been squeegeed down, the harder it is to pull back up, so don't expect to be able to pull it off the next day to fix something and not damage the PPF. It's fairly stretchy to be able to bend to the contours of the body panels, and if you dump a bucket of hot water on it, then you'll get the maximum stretch. I'm not suggesting boiling water, but about as hot as typical tap water. But you can't use tap water, so I just heated distilled water in the microwave. If you're interested in more details of the actual install, then go watch my 2 prior videos during the front and back installation on the car. Overall, I quite enjoyed the project and I loved the feeling of successfully doing something myself. I loved learning new skills and gaining the confidence that I can do many diverse things myself and save a lot of money in the process. Plus, it was fun to be able to let the kids help as they really enjoyed doing it, and occasionally they talk about installing the PPF on the car, so it's a memorable event for them. It did take many hours over several days since I just worked on it here and there when I had some time. I had the luxury of a garage to do it in, and we still have our Model S that we continued to drive like we didn't own the Model Y yet, so I could easily just keep the Model Y in the garage until the project was complete. I could see someone potentially completing the project over a weekend, but as with any DIY project, I hesitate to say with very much emphasis how much time it'll take you, because depending on your own skills, experience, and talent, the time it takes could vary dramatically. But don't be afraid to take it on even if you don't have the luxury of leaving it in the garage the whole time. Once you've installed a panel of PPF, you could pause the project and drive the car if needed, then rewash it again later when you have time to install more panels. It's more efficient to clean the whole car and do the whole project continuously until it's done, but there are several ways you could approach it depending on your constraints. The part I didn't enjoy was just the stress of messing up on a section of PPF to the point that I would have to get a new one. The most difficult part of the installation was for sure the bumpers, and thus those caused me the most stress trying to get them right. Also, here and there I did find minor pieces of dust under the PPF that I was disappointed to find days after the install when they were there to stay, or else I'd have to get a replacement piece of PPF, which Drive Protected will supply if you totally mess up a piece once. Also, I got the PPF too close to the edge of the body panel in a couple of places and it didn't stick properly. So after my trip to the off-road games, I discovered sand in a couple of places that really makes the unstuck edges obvious. That's okay though, because I showed the pictures of it to Drive Protected and they sent me a video with instructions of how to use a razor blade to trim off the edges so it looks as good as it should. Overall, I'm very happy with the end result, and we've now taken our Model Y on a 7,168-mile road trip from Utah to the Florida Keys, and many places in between. And as I drove, I heard something impact the vehicle while driving a couple of times, and I was grateful to know that my paint was at least protected from the road rash and small chaos of the outside world. After the trip, I discovered a couple of minor nicks in the PPF on the hood and front bumper that undoubtedly protected my paint from chips. There were other times that the paint was touched while dirty, such as this guy leaning on our car while talking to the Cybertruck owner next to us at a supercharger, or kids touching the car, or someone's dog and cat jumped on the car, and it was a great peace of mind knowing that it was protected. If you're interested in installing PPF yourself, I recommend Drive Protected, and if you'd like 5% off anything in their store, use the discount code ETA, which I've also put in the video description below. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.